Greetings from Santiago, the Dominican Republic, from the Casa Grande International Mission House. My name's Tim Johnson, and I'm back again to share another true story of sharing the gospel during our 48 years of ministry. I'm going to take you back now 48 years, almost 49 years. The week after I surrendered my life to Christ, my brother Dwight, uh, who had a great influence on my life when he was in prison after he got out, invited me the first week after I came to the Lord to go to jail with him to minister. And I agreed to go. And so that night we went to Chaplain Nolan Spalding, who had lived in Niles, Michigan's house, and he had this red vehicle, and it was painted on the back and on the side the name of the mission, but on the very back of the vehicle said, "On my way to jail." And that was really interesting. And we rode to the jail that night. And when we got to the jail, they took us in, and we were able to share with the men in the jailhouse that night in Van Buren County Jail. And that night, I did not know my brother Dwight was going to call on me, and he told the men, the inmates, he said, "My brother's here, and he's recently surrendered his life to Christ, and tonight he's going to share his testimony." He caught me off guard. My knees were knocking. I wasn't sure what I was going to share, but I just told the men that night what God had done for me and how he had come into my life and set me free. And I told them how I visited my brother in prison, and when I went in to see him, he was freed spiritually, even though he was locked up, and I was bound captive to sin and shame. But how I had recently given my life to Christ, and God broke the chains of darkness over me. And I shared the only verse I remembered from my childhood was John 3:16. "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believeth in him should not perish but have everlasting life." And when I got done, my brother got up and gave an invitation. I believe there was 5 or so men that night that gave their life to Christ. It was really encouraging to see that God could use me. And on the way home from the jail that night, Chaplain Spalding said to me, he said, "Would you like to help me in the jails and prisons? I could use your help if you could." And I said, "Sure, I would help you." I did not know that night I went with my brother. That was a start of a prison ministry that I would be doing. I've been going into the prisons now for 48 years. Here in this nation, I've been going into the prisons for 28 years. And prior to that, I went into prisons and jails in the States, and when we've lived in other nations. And we've had the privilege over all these years to lead thousands of prisoners, men and women, inmates to Christ. And it all started when we took that first step of faith, and I went with my brother to the jail, and did not know that going to the jail was going to open up a ministry where I would still be doing it 48 years later. And it's been a blessing to see so many lives changed and transformed by the power of God. And I encourage you, reach out into the ministry that God calls you, or the door he opens up for you. He has a destiny. He has a plan and a purpose for your life. God bless you, and keep fighting the good fight of faith.